1970s. You're sitting on the living room floor. There's a cereal box on the carpet in front of you, and you're not eating. You're digging. Your hand is all the way in, past the wrist, because somewhere in that box is a small plastic monster. Breakfast in the 1970s wasn't just food. The box was your comic book. The back was your puzzle. And at the bottom, past the last handful of cereal, was a toy. A magnet. A decoder ring. A whistle your mother swore was making you deaf. These were the cereals you begged Mom to buy. Some weeks she said yes. Most weeks she said no. Today, 20 of the cereals you wanted most. The ones Mom gave in on. The ones she never did. And the toys at the bottom of every box. Start with the Captain. If you were a kid in the 1970s, there's a good chance this was the first cereal you ever begged for. Cap'n Crunch hit shelves in '63, Cornelius Crunch, blue coat, yellow hat, the voice of a man who sounded like he'd actually sailed something. And you remember the texture, those hard little golden squares that fought back. You ate them until the roof of your mouth was shredded, and you kept eating. Then came Crunch Berries in '67, Peanut Butter Crunch in '69, Vanilla Crunch in '70, a whole Crunch family. But here's the thing, what you usually got was Cheerios, because a box of Cheerios cost 50 cents. A box of Cap'n Crunch cost 75, and the Crunch was gone by Wednesday. Cap'n Crunch was a negotiation. Cheerios was the default. Next to the Captain on the shelf, an alien, Quisp, launched in '65. Quaker oats again. Same flavor as Cap'n Crunch more or less, but shaped like tiny flying saucers. A pink alien with a propeller on his head. Quisp had an enemy, a cereal called Quake. Same flavor, different shape. A burly miner with a yellow helmet. In 1972, Quaker Oats did something nobody had ever done. They asked kids to vote. Quisp or Quake. One stays, one goes. Kids sent in ballots. Real ones. Clipped from the backs of cereal boxes and mailed in. And in a lot of houses, it's split right down the middle. You voted Quisp. Your sister voted Quake. Quisp won. Quake was discontinued. And somewhere, in the house you grew up in, there's probably still a sibling holding a grudge. Quaker tried again in '73 with Quangaroos. Orange-flavored kangaroo mascot. Lasted 3 years. Nobody remembers it. If Quisp looked strange, Kaboom looked like a circus exploded in your bowl. Launched in '69. Pieces shaped like smiling clown faces. Marshmallow stars in 5 colors. And a clown mascot with a grin that was maybe a little too wide. Kaboom wasn't a huge seller. Most kids in the '70s didn't even taste it. Most moms took one look at the box and put it back on the shelf. Too much food coloring in one bowl was the usual argument, and Mom wasn't entirely wrong. But the kids who did get it, they remember. The colors, the clown, the stars in the bowl, the circus animal marshmallows, bears, lions, elephants. Those came later, in the '80s. General Mills kept Kaboom on shelves for 41 years, through the '70s, '80s, '90s, into the 2000s. It finally went away in 2010. And if you were one of the kids who ate it, you probably didn't notice it was gone. You'd already grown up, moved out, and started buying Cheerios yourself. March 1971. General Mills launches 2 cereals on the same day. Count Chocula, chocolate-flavored, vampire on the box. Frankenberry, strawberry-flavored, Frankenstein on the box. The first chocolate and strawberry cereals on the American market. Ever. A year later, a ghost shows up. Boo Berry. December '72. First blueberry cereal ever made. For a generation of kids, these 3 were Halloween in a bowl, all year long. But Frankenberry had a problem in the first year. The pink dye didn't break down in the digestive system. So for a few months in '72, kids eating Frankenberry were turning out pink. Doctors called it Frankenberry stool. True story. No parent was ready for that phone call, and that was the moment a lot of moms drew the line. Here's what's strange about the monster cereals. They never really went away. You can still buy them today, but only in September and October, Halloween season. For 10 months a year, Count Chocula doesn't exist. Then he shows up on shelves like he's been waiting for you. Freakies, 1973, made by Ralston. 7 monsters, bumpy, colorful, weird. Each one had a name. Boss Moss, Grumble, Gargle, Goody Goody, Hamhose, Snorkeldorf, Cowmumble. The cereal itself? Little brown rings. Tasted kind of like Cheerios with a light sweetness. Honestly, not the reason kids loved it. What they loved was inside the box. 7 plastic figures, 1 per character, about the size of your thumb. Kids didn't buy Freakies for breakfast. They bought Freakies for the figures. Ask anyone who grew up with Freakies in the house. Full set on the fridge for years. Some still do, and some, years later, sold the complete set on eBay for $125 and regretted it the second the money cleared. Freakies disappeared in '76. 3 years. That's all they got. But the figures outlived the cereal by 50 years. Still on fridges. Still on eBay. Real quick before we keep pouring, which of the first 5 was your begged-for cereal? Cap'n Crunch, Quisp, Kaboom, Monster cereals, Freakies? Drop it in the comments. Just the name. We read every single one. And if this is bringing back the right kind of memories, hit subscribe. We do these every Saturday. King Vitaman, made by Quaker Oats, launched in '68. The cereal pieces were shaped like tiny crowns. And here's the thing. He wasn't just a cartoon. From '71 to '77, they hired an actual actor to play him. A real guy. In a crown. On every box. His name was George Mann, former vaudeville dancer, face of breakfast for 6 years until he passed away in '77. But King Vitaman wasn't what Mom bought at home. It was what Grandma bought. The one sugary box in a pantry full of bran and oatmeal. For a kid staying at Grandma's for the weekend, it felt like a vacation. Super Sugar Crisp, made by Post, golden puffed wheat coated in sugar, and in the '70s, the box said sugar right on the front. Twice. The mascot was Sugar Bear, voice like a lounge singer, always calm, always cool, one step ahead of the bad guy. If you grew up on Dean Martin and the Gold Diggers, you knew Sugar Bear. Same world, same swagger. Then the '80s came. Moms across America had been complaining for years. Pediatricians started writing papers. And Post didn't discontinue the cereal. They just changed the name. Super Sugar Crisp became Super Golden Crisp. Same cereal, different word on the front. It wasn't just Sugar Crisp. Sugar Smacks became Honey Smacks. Sugar Pops became Corn Pops. Sugar Frosted Flakes became Frosted Flakes. The word sugar quietly disappeared from the cereal aisle, one box at a time. Mom finally won that argument. 1977. General Mills releases something genuinely weird. Crazy Cow. Cereal pieces coated in a drink mix powder. Pour milk over it, and the milk turns chocolate or strawberry instantly. Most moms said no on principle. Too much sugar, too much food coloring, too much fun. Crazy Cow was the cereal you had to beg for twice. Once to get the box and once to finish it before Mom changed her mind. But if you had it, even once, you remember, strawberry or chocolate, it didn't matter. You remember the moment the white milk hit the cereal and turned pink. Crazy Cow didn't last long, gone by the early '80s. But a bowl of white milk turning pink in real time is not something a 7-year-old forgets. Honeycomb, launched by Post in '65. For a decade after that, it was a staple in American kitchens. The pieces were huge. Big honeycomb-shaped corn puffs the size of a quarter. Lightly sweet, crunchy. A touch of honey flavor. Most of it came from sugar. But the piece size was the whole thing. Kids loved it because you could stack them on your finger, 2 or 3 at a time. The mascot was the Honeycomb Kid, a young Wild West cowboy riding around doing honeycomb-themed heroics. The jingle was unforgettable. Honeycombs still sold today. The pieces are smaller now, not by much, but enough that anyone who ate it in the 70s notices. Post launched Fruity Pebbles in '69, Cocoa Pebbles in '70, tiny crispy rice pieces, one neon-colored and fruit-flavored, the other dark brown and chocolate. And on the box, Fred Flintstone and Barney Rubble fighting over the cereal. Every commercial ended the same way. Barney would steal Fred's Pebbles. Fred would yell. Cereal went flying. The cereal itself was simple. The cartoon tie-in did the work. Fruity Pebbles turned the milk neon. Cocoa Pebbles turned it chocolate. And both of them, by the time the bowl was empty, had lost most of their crunch. But the milk at the bottom? That was the point. You drank it. Every time. Alpha Bits, made by Post, launched in '58, but peaked in the '70s. Crunchy letter-shaped pieces. The full alphabet in every bowl. Kids spelled their names in the milk, messed up the word, and ate the evidence. The '70s mascot was lovable truly, a cartoon postman who delivered Alpha Bits letters. And for a while, Michael Jackson and the Jackson 5 sang the commercials. The premiums were the draw, a tiny pocket printer that stamped letters, iron-on transfers, cutout masks on the back of the box. Alpha Bits was reformulated in 2012. The sugar came out. Most of the audience came out too, but the letters are still in the bowl. Waffelos, Ralston, launched in '79, right at the end of the decade. Tiny waffle-shaped pieces, real maple syrup flavor baked right in. Tasted like breakfast dessert, like someone had shrunk a full plate of waffles into bite size. The mascot was Waffelos Bill, a cartoon cowboy riding a horse, telling kids to get along with little waffle critters. The jingle stuck. Then came the blueberry version. Blueberry Waffelos, even sweeter, even more popular. But Waffelos got overtaken by the health wave in the early '80s, gone by '82. The kids who had it, especially the blueberry one, say there's never been another cereal like it. And they're right. Nothing ever tasted like Waffelos again. Buc Wheats, General Mills, launched in '71. Maple-flavored wheat flakes, thick, hearty, slightly sweet. A cereal for kids who wanted sugar but also wanted to feel grown up. The mascot was a cartoon frontiersman, coonskin cap, buckskin jacket, hence the name. And for a decade, Buc Wheats had a loyal following. Not flashy, not marketed to death, just reliably good. Then in 1982, General Mills made a mistake. They changed the recipe, took out the maple flavor, replaced it with honey. The loyal fans noticed immediately. They stopped buying it. And Buc Wheats was gone shortly after. A reminder that sometimes the best thing a company can do with a cereal is leave it alone. Pause for a second. If hearing any of these names brought one back, drop it in the comments. Which one did you beg for the hardest? Which one did mom always say no to? We read every single one. And if you want more Saturday mornings like this, subscribe. Before we pour the last bowls, there's something we need to talk about. Because for every cereal on this list, and every cereal that didn't make it, there's one thing that mattered more than the cereal itself. Ask anyone who was 8 years old in 1974. You'll get the same answer. It wasn't what was in the bowl, it was what was in the box. Every single box, had a prize. The Quisp propeller beanie, the one you had to send away for. 3 proofs of purchase and $1 in the mail. The Cap'n Crunch whistle, the one kids later figured out could whistle the exact tone that made long-distance phone calls free. True story. The Monster Cereals vinyl figures, the Cookie Crisp decoder ring, the Lucky Charms glow-in-the-dark stickers, the Freakies magnets. 7 little monsters, 1 per character, stuck to the fridge for decades. And the cereal box records. Real vinyl records, printed right on the back of the box. You cut them out with scissors, put them on the turntable, and they played. Every family had the same small battle. The kid would open the box, fish out the prize, and walk away, leaving the cereal behind. Mom would find the abandoned box an hour later and be annoyed every single time. And then there were the mailaways. Send in 3 proofs of purchase, plus $1, plus your name and address on a 3x5 card, printed carefully in pencil. Fold the card, seal the envelope, walk it down to the mailbox at the end of the street, and wait 6 to 8 weeks. That's what the box said. For a 7-year-old, 6 weeks is forever. You asked Mom every single day if the package had come. Every single day she said no. And then one Tuesday afternoon, it did. A small brown box on the porch with your name on it. You ripped it open before you even got in the house. The prizes were never the point. Not really. They were the promise that something was coming. That a box on a shelf was worth more than the sum of its cornflakes. That breakfast, just breakfast, could also be a treasure hunt. Kids today don't have that. A cereal box is just a cereal box. There's nothing at the bottom. Cookie Crisp, Ralston, 77. Tiny chocolate chip cookie-shaped pieces. The cereal that let you eat cookies for breakfast and call it cereal. Mom was not fooled. Cookie Crisp got denied in more American kitchens than any other cereal on this list. The original had a wizard mascot named Cookie Jarvis. Later, a cookie thief called the Cookie Crook. Cookie Crisp is still on shelves, but nothing made in 77 is still the same. Fruit Brute, General Mills, 74. The 4th monster cereal. A werewolf in rainbow-striped overalls. Fruit flavored with lime green marshmallows. Fruit Brute never hit like Count Chocula or Frankenberry. Lime in cereal was a hard sell, gone by 82. But Quentin Tarantino, of all people, kept him alive. A box of Fruit Brute sits in the background of Pulp Fiction and Reservoir Dogs. Both. On purpose. General Mills brought him back briefly in 2013, then pulled him again. He'll be back. Froot Loops, Kellogg's, 63. 6 colors of circular sugar, and on the box, Toucan Sam. The narrator with the tropical Spanish accent who could smell Froot Loops from 3 rooms away. Froot Loops is one of the few 70s cereals still on shelves today in a recognizable form. The colors are slightly different, the loops are slightly smaller, but the bird is still the same, and the milk at the bottom, if you poured enough of them, still turns purple. Moonstones, General Mills, 76. Cereal pieces shaped like stars, half moons, and tiny planets. The gimmick. They were mined from the rocky interior of the moon by tiny alien creatures. The commercials were beautiful. Animated space scenes. Ads promised delicious space-shaped cereal that's out of this world. Moonstones only lasted 2 years. Nobody really knows why. The cereal was good. The marketing was great. But it vanished. And for the kids who had it, they talk about it like they're talking about a dream. Lucky Charms, General Mills, 64. Plain toasted oats, the boring part, plus marshmallows in the shapes of a horseshoe, a clover, a diamond, a heart, a moon, a star. Lucky was the leprechaun, always running from kids trying to steal his cereal. Magically delicious. You remember the line, Lucky Charms is still everywhere. The marshmallow count keeps going up. The oat content keeps going down. Somewhere in a General Mills lab, there's an engineer whose entire job is adding new marshmallow shapes. Best job in the world. Corn Crackos, Post, 67. Sweet corn and oat cereal. Small twisted pieces. The gimmick was in the name. They were crackly when you crunched them. The mascot was a British bird named Waldo the Woodpecker. The commercials had him pecking at the cereal in an English accent. Corn Crackos never made it big, gone by the mid-70s. But the kids who had it, a small number of them, remember the sound more than the taste. A specific crunch, a specific snap. That's the whole memory. Grins and smiles and giggles and laughs. Ralston, 76. Yes, that's the real name. The mascot was a big yellow machine named Cecil who laughed boxes of cereal out of his mouth. The 4 characters, Grins, Smiles, Giggles, and Laughs, were all cereal pieces, or something like that. Nobody was ever totally sure. The cereal tasted similar to Kaboom. The name didn't help it sell. It lasted about a year, but the box is a perfect artifact of the 1970s. You couldn't name a cereal that today if you tried. One last thing before we go. What was in your cereal box? The prize you sent away for, the figure you kept, the whistle, the magnet, the decoder ring. Drop it in the comments. If enough of you share, we'll make a whole video on the toys. And if this took you back, subscribe. We do these every Saturday.